Hello everyone. Since this is either a highlight, a standalone book, or the first episode in a series, I'm jumping in to remind you what the rules are for this podcast. First rule is, no real people stories. That means that any details from our own lives are merely anecdotal, we do not read books about real people, and we are not reading historical fiction. The second rule is that we are basing our analyses off of how the author treats characters and what they put them through. We are not judging the accuracy of the trauma, the accuracy of any actual conditions that may be portrayed, nor the authenticity of a character's reaction to that trauma or that particular condition. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. The hosts are not trained professionals, and their opinions come solely from personal experience. In this episode, we discuss fictional depictions of trauma and violence that may not be suitable for all audiences. Please take care of yourselves. Specific content warnings for each episode can be found in the show notes. Events in the media are discussed in approximate order of escalation. This episode contains spoilers.
Hi, I'm Nicole.
And I'm Robin, and this episode on Books That Burn, we are discussing Swordheart by T. Kingfisher. This is, currently it's a standalone book. I'm hoping that eventually that part of her description becomes horribly dated when more books about the other swords come out. But I don't know when that's going to happen, so we're working with what we have. And from the publisher, we have the description. Hala is a housekeeper who has suddenly inherited her great-uncle's estate and, unfortunately, his relatives. Sarkis is an immortal swordsman trapped in a prison of enchanted steel. When Hala draws the sword that imprisons him, Sarkis finds himself attempting to defend his new wielder against everything from bandits and roving inquisitors to her own in-laws, and the sword itself may prove to be the greatest threat of all. For our first topic, we have manipulation, referring to those relatives who are pretty terrible, and wanted to focus on Hala's mother-in-law, and only briefly touch on the people she herself is manipulating, because if we did that, they'd be their own topics. It'd be a whole thing. It'd be a whole episode of just people who, at this point when we meet them, are just pretty terrible. But a big part of the manipulation is a lot of financial control, financial abuse, and like literally locking Hala in her bedroom until she agrees to marry her brother-in-law so that her mother-in-law can keep all that property and money in the family. There's more complicated stuff going on in the book but that is what Hala is aware of for most of it. So yeah.
So, the thing that is happening here that we really want to talk about is the increasingly desperate attempts by her mother-in-law to keep Hala in the family and keep her doing what her mother-in-law wants. We get, like, there's just a pattern of sorry, voice is dying. There's a pattern of like we kind of see like her mother really controlling everyone, but very specifically Hala really wasn't like of any consequence to this person until, is it spoilers to say what the catalyst was?
the catalyst
It
for
happens
the
pretty
book starting?
No.
Or...
For her mother-in-law actually trying to control her the way she was.
Oh, I can't.
It happens pretty early.
Yeah, like I can't think of
Okay.
anything related to that would be a spoiler.
Okay.
I mean, there are. I wouldn't want to spoil the exact financial shenanigans that are driving the mother-in-law. I don't think they're actually necessarily relevant to this, if that's what you're trying not to spoil.
Yeah, okay, I'm not going to do... Okay, so basically, Hela very suddenly comes into some money, and the mother-in-law says... Oh, okay. That's what I was referring to. Mother-in-law is basically
that's
like...
in the description.
Oh, that's... All right, close enough. Okay, so Hela inherits a small fortune that the mother-in-law thought was going directly to her control. This would let Hela both kind of live her life without, being subject to the whims of her family by marriage. It would take a pretty sizable chunk of money away from this family, and
money and property.
Money and property. And her mother-in-law just basically says, no, that can't happen. This is mine. And so we see some financial abuse, we see some physical abuse. At one point, Hela is bound and shoved in a closet, and then shoved in a bedroom, and then shoved under in another spare room, tied up or not, fed or not, knocked unconscious or not. This just happens to her several times at the behest of this one person. We get threats of sexual abuse. None that I think happen on screen, if I remember correctly, but
no.
Nothing that actually is carried out. But there are definite threats of I will marry you off to my son, and then he will rape you. That's just going to happen, and you just have to accept it. And you just have to live with me and do what I say. We get. I mean, she's physically bound and thrown into various places, but she's also just locked in her bedroom for I think a couple weeks. Is it more than
one
that?
of the things with it's 3 days between her getting locked in the bedroom and when she pulls the sword.
It feels like a lot longer.
Yeah. And the other thing that I would specifically say, since we've mentioned the threat of sexual violence and coercion, is that there's at least one time where Hela's to be clear, you're going to make me have sex with her brother-in-law, actually, but they're going to make him marry. And she's like, all right, fine. What happens if you legally make a marriage happen when I have said no? Are you then going to make me have sex with you?
Right.
And they're like,
not if you just agree to do it anyway.
Right. No. If you just say yes, then it'll be fine.
Right.
She's
right. They're trying to pretend that this is not their end goal.
Yeah, I don't think the word rape actually appears in the book, but it's not subtle that that's what the concern is.
Right.
Because Hala's to be clear, I do not want to do this thing and you're planning to make me do this thing, yes?
Right.
And they're no.
They're what if you just did it for us
if you said yes?
as a gift?
Right. What if you
not
just,
exactly those words, but that's the...
Yeah, what if you agreed to it?
What if you just wanted to? Yeah, it's weird. It's very weird and it's almost... So honestly, we get enough kind of structure of the land where we know that they basically could have just walked up to her and said, hi, we're gonna force you to do this, end of story. And as long as she does in fact marry them, there's not really a lot anyone else is going to do. Not that they couldn't, but they won't. And
right,
that's actually a particular point of discussion at one point between two characters. So we kind of get a semi-explicit look into that.
It's not as we discussed in one of the Tamara Pierce books where it's a tradition of this kind of whatever.
Right. No.
It's not that kind of thing that we've literally talked about on this podcast. It's just kind of
accepted culture, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a specific plan, but no one is gonna interfere. specifically.
Yeah, and one of the things that I find interesting about this is that...
Wait, did we cover Will of the Empress? Or did we just do Battle Magic?
I thought we did Will of the Empress because we did one of the first 4, one of the second 4, and then 2 from the end.
Oh, did we do 2 from the end?
And those 2 were Will of the Empress and Battle Magic. And we're talking about our Tamara Pierce episodes.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't instantly catch our allusions. So one of the things that I find interesting about this is because it would be very easy to be like, this is just sexism. And it's like, no, like that's in there. But one of the things that's happening is we have this matriarch enforcing this system and this control and wielding the power that she has and using her remaining son like as her tool to try and get this done. But there's no I don't know. There's no appeal to solidarity as women nor rejection of the same, I think is the way I would put this. Like, it's just not about that at all. And there are, like, sexual dynamics and, like, gender dynamics that are discussed. Like, towards the end when Circus is talking about, like, differences in, like, his culture and Hala's. They end up bringing up, like, assumptions of, like, who has to give value for whom in the context of a marriage.
Right.
Where it's, like, got this plain contrast. But here, it's not necessarily about Hala being female, though that changes some of the default assumptions about what could happen to her. It's also the position of power.
Right.
That her mother-in-law has as being the one who is older and established. Right. And already has kids who can get done what she wants.
Yeah, this is not a female character upholding the patriarchy. This is a system that, like, puts people without power at a disadvantage, and it just so happens that the person without the advantage here is a woman.
And also, like, it's...
Or at least, if it is that explicit, we're not told that.
I don't get the impression that, like, the brother-in-law wants to do this anymore than Hala would.
Yeah, not
like,
really.
I don't know. It seems like one of those if everyone's drunk, who can consent sort of situations.
Yes. If everyone has been roofied, no one is doing this on purpose.
Right. It's still
that's maybe a bad comparison, but
I given the threat of what's involved, I don't actually necessarily
might actually be. Yeah.
I don't think it's as far enough away as we would want it to be.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so with her, like, forcing her son to marry Hala, and we already know that, because we already know that Hala's former husband died of plague, like, over a decade ago. But when he was alive, he was not especially interested in sex as a thing or in having children. There's reference to him to, like, doing his duty or whatever. So it doesn't seem like he was a person who would have picked getting married at all.
Yeah.
And so then
it's very easy to picture him being treated the same way as his still living brother.
Right. For them to be in this situation again with the same woman caught up in it, because the mother-in-law has one thing that she wants to do, and that is keep the money and the property, and she's just doing whatever she can to whoever is around her to make this happen. And she doesn't seem to have a sense of, like, anything that would be a step too far. So it's like, oh, this thing didn't work. Let's do the next thing.
Right.
On to our second topic, which is betrayal. And we are going to move to a much nicer character to talk about. Sarkis.
Wait, what? Hold on.
Sarkis.
That seems mean toward Hala.
Oh, no, I was thinking the mother-in-law.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. No. Hala's lovely. Hala's great.
Yeah, Hala is legitimately the most kind, like, on paper, the most kind-hearted character that exists in this whole novel.
Oh, gosh. No, this is a grumpy sunshine book.
Sure.
100%. It's great. It's lovely. Hala is just amazing. And Sarkis is enchanted to live in a sword. And the reason, and now this is this gets into an late book spoiler. So if you don't want that spoiler, go ahead and skip to the end and we'll catch you in the wrap up. But if you're ready for that spoiler, all right. So Sarkis, he was the commander of a mercenary troop, and as he says at one point in this book, the difference between a mercenary and a murderer is that a mercenary stays bought. If you don't do that, you're just someone who gets paid to kill people, and as he sees it, part of what makes him a mercenary is that he's paid to kill these people and not those people, and that involves staying in place even if you're losing, as long as the money hasn't stopped.
Well, and just doing what you said you would doing what you would hire to do, being whatever where you were hired to be, whatever that is. And at one point, to preserve the lives of his men, he left. Everybody left. They abandoned their post. It meant that they lived.
Sides, I think.
Yeah, yes, they did.
So they actively fought against the people they had been hired to fight for.
They made an implied either moral or safety decision, but in doing so, he betrayed his commission, betrayed their what they were, I keep wanting to call it a commission. What is it when you're the one negotiating? Contract, thank you.
It's not a commission. Contract.
So, and then on top of that, we have a second layer because this character either, participated with, volunteered with, assisted in persuading two of his underlings and went himself to go, and this is very much a spoiler, stop literally right now. Go to the next topic if you don't want a major spoiler. 3, 2, 1. This is your last chance. Okay. This character and two others went to a sorceress, a magic user.
So there's wonder workers.
Yeah.
It's that some people are born with a magical talent that can do one thing. Sometimes that one thing is very specific. Sometimes it's not. It's mentioned in one of the books that there's a theory that everyone is a wonder worker, but most people just don't discover what their one thing is.
Okay. I haven't read any of the other books.
Have you ever tried giving orders to a tree frog? You don't know. That could be your thing. But yeah, so this was someone who had a talent related to magic and smithing, and she used it to put people into weapons. In this, I don't know if it's only swords or if that's just what's used in this particular backstory. Right.
So they are ritually sacrificed, stabbed through the heart, abdomen, at least
something torso area.
Yeah. Some magic things are performed, and then forever after, the character we are following at the very least, and it's heavily implied, both of the others that were also sacrificed, because if they were put under the same thing, they literally cannot be gotten rid of.
Oh, it's not even implied. Like he went last, so he watched the other two.
No. I'm saying these swords most likely, until we're told otherwise, still exist.
Oh, sorry.
That was my point. They have not been gotten rid of. They are still there somewhere. And so he feels a lot. We see him ruminate in his own head on. I think he confesses to Hala at one point. He feels this immense sense of responsibility and guilt because he was responsible. And then his two closest companions, who were also his underlings, are dead and he thinks it is at least partially because of him. Other of his men, I think, were killed, or at the very least were targeted more because he had switched sides. And it was his call, it was his decision, it was his action. And even if everybody under his whole command would have died if he hadn't done that, it doesn't matter, because some of them are still dead now.
Well, the ones who were still with the troop were killed.
I couldn't remember if they were explicitly killed or if they were just...
No, it's that... So, like, to everyone below them, he and these other two were, like, the trio at the top, and then he is the commander of the whole thing, so he was above those two, technically. But, like, to everyone else, they were, like, a command trio. And one of them didn't want to do the betrayal, and he convinced them to.
Right. Right.
So the three of them are punished.
So there's like three things that guide this character, this whole book. One is our third topic, which we will talk about in a moment. Two is his sense of loss, his sense of it being his fault. And three, a desire that does not exist at the beginning of the book, that slowly grows to be anything more than just a sentient sword. And that's it. That's all this character has left. Nothing else. And we see him really just... Well, that's not fair. There's one other minor thing, but it's the romance thing, so it's not worth our mention.
Okay, all right. No,
we didn't pick it as a topic, so we don't have to talk about it.
This is true. We didn't pick the romance as a topic. For anyone who prefers books with zero romance, this is not a book for you. It is as low romance as I could find in this sequence of books.
Yeah, if you can handle just a tiny bit of romance for the sake of Sentient Sword, this is a great book. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. It's not a book that you can like skip the romance and still have conversation happen without you not knowing what's going on. So heads up.
There's some pretty important character development in the intimate scenes. The intimate scenes are not graphic, though.
That is very true. Yes. So anyways, so that's also a motivator. It's probably more major than I mentally give it credit for. That's a me problem. But I mean, really, like, as far as like his driving things that he admits to himself and thinks about consciously and like works out on purpose. Mm-hmm. He has guilt. He has a magical compulsion that we will talk about in a moment, and he has this sense of like, I have nothing, I might as well ask for something. And that's it. That's all he gets.
Yeah, he's also like, I mean, you're obviously downplaying the romance.
No, I'm joking. Yeah. I think the romance actually comes under him wanting something. That I think it's just part of that.
Absolutely, and it also is tied up a bit in his guilt over what happened with his men, because he's caught between like, okay,
a rock and a hard place. In this case, a sword and a wall.
Yeah, the more she depends on him, the more he can let her down, and so he's trying very hard.
That's a very good way of putting that.
Yeah. So like, he's trying very hard for a long time to not have her depend on anything more than a guy with sword. And then it gets to a point where it's very clear that she does depend on him as more than guy with sword, even not in a sexual way necessarily, but in like a, as a person who is there, who is here
to defend me, thing that will ensure that I don't die.
And then it's like, friend and all kinds of things. And and because his previous friends got also turned into sentient swords, he's like, I don't know, it's not like he's worried that she's going to get turned into a sword or something, but he is worried that he's going to let her down and it'll be in a way that is irreparable. And she's in some genuine danger, so there is like an actual reason for him to be worried about this. Mm-hmm. Like it's not a silly fear.
Right.
And okay, part of why I do want to talk about in terms of like how this betrayal is handled in the narrative is like actually the moment of her finding out about this betrayal is one of
not even necessarily what it was, just that there is a big deal thing that he hasn't told her.
Yeah. The way this is handled is actually the only thing in the book that I don't like.
Really? Okay.
It feels really, to me at least, it feels, her reaction feels like really sudden and out of nowhere. Because I'm like, oh, you made a mistake 500 years ago.
See,
okay.
I weirdly think her reaction is super in character and also just like very irrationally human.
This is fair. This is all true. That's, yes.
Like, I don't look at it as being out of the blue. I look at it as she's had no one she can depend on, and now she's found somebody for the first time, basically, since she left, like, her home growing up. And all of a sudden, there's something that is such a big deal, both to him and as part of who he is, that he didn't tell her. And so she's like, we can't do this. I was wrong. I couldn't trust you. I can't be interested in you. Like, this was a mistake and I've made myself vulnerable. It doesn't matter who you betrayed or what happened. You could betray me too. And that's it. Her thought process doesn't go anywhere else. She doesn't like get anywhere else with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
At least at first.
Yeah.
You know, spoilers, like, it's a book, things resolve. That's just how plots go. Or they resolve as much as they will in that book, or anyways. But, like, you know, arguably, like, if this wasn't such a big part of his character, it wouldn't be a big deal. It would have been 500 years ago. He's had, you know, however many years of consciousness as a sword, like, sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, if I were in that situation, I think I would probably just be like, okay. And anyways, like, this isn't a thing that it affects me at the moment. But she's not me.
She's not. Yeah.
I know a lot of people who would react exactly the way she is, and I wouldn't be like, oh, well, this doesn't make sense for you. I'd be like, oh, of course she did. Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and also just from like I do, as much as I don't like how quick her reaction turns, I agree that he brought it up in the way most likely to make that reaction.
Most likely to be a problem.
Partly as kind of like, well, this is where everything in my life is going to be terrible again. I might as well rip the Band-Aid off. And if it's going to be bad, it'd be bad as much and as fast as possible.
See, and I honestly think it's the only point in the story where it makes sense for him to have said anything. Because she's not the only person who also does not talk to people and trust people and depend on people. Like,
this is true.
For him, because, like, for him, dependence is emotional. It's not physical. And so, and he's just been a thing passed around and, like, sometimes treated well, sometimes treated poorly, but every time he is actively harmed, and we'll, again, get to that in topic 3, he's actively harmed doing so, and he has no choice.
Yeah.
There's no point in this story where I think it would have made sense for him to say anything. Especially because at no point in the story were they alone where he could have told her without other people hearing.
Except for the parts where they were not nearly close enough for him to have said anything. I do agree on that. The other thing...
I don't know. I thought it made sense.
As much as I don't like the choices that the characters make in that moment, I do agree that they fit them. And also, I do appreciate how narratively the author neatly accomplishes something else that we don't like find out that that's what happened for like a little bit longer. Like the seeds of other stuff going badly and requiring resolution.
Oh yeah, that's another thing.
Incidentally caused in this moment, and then we find out that this is what makes this other thing happen. And no one ever says, aha, that moment there, but the thing is when I found out about the stuff.
Well, Well,
They don't have to, but it was the kind of thing that I realized on a reread. Oh, that's when they found out. That's when they found out this thing.
Well, and also, like, this is not a book where there's a huge miscommunication and then they just don't talk to each other for 80 pages. No, this is one, not a miscommunication. Everyone in the room knows what just happened. 2, it's resolved in 10 pages or something like that. Like, it's the most, like, emotionally heart-wrenching, sad if you are emotionally invested in this, moment of their entire arc as, like, a couple. Yeah. And it's done almost before. It's literally over the next time they see each other, which is, like, not that far in the future.
It is one of the shortest and most well-done versions of a trope I generally hate. And find very distressing. Yeah.
It's literally rip the Band-Aid off and, oh, look, it's healed already. Okay, anyways.
Yeah. Because at that point the stakes turn from their interpersonal thing
and because
like
they've
the
both
logistical fix,
and because they've both worked out the solution on their own without each other anyway. Like, he's been okay with her saying, well, or at least resigned to, but he's worked out the possibility that she might just be done with him forever, and he's been said, like, all right, I'll deal with it when that happens. But he's ready to deal with it. He's not running from it. And she is ready to listen to him and take into account his life and experiences and things he has to deal with. Yeah, so they're both ready to meet the other one where they're at, so it's over. It's over before they even see each other again.
And that is why it is so nice to read books with protagonists where they're both over 30. It's so nice.
Okay.
It's so nice. It's a thing that is more likely to happen in a way that feels realistic in the book when that's a thing.
Okay.
That's a thing that I have been finding. Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's nice. It's not the only way to get there. It is part of why this book is that way.
Gotcha. Okay.
Based on how other characters in the other books in this kind of extended world of the White Rat it's a bunch of adults figuring out things as adults and not having to go through the emotion roller coaster for the sake of processing the emotion roller coaster.
Right.
Anyway, that might end up being my favorite non-traumatic thing. We'll see. But it's just, it's so nice. Because, like, you're like, yeah, they resolve it in a few pages. And it doesn't feel trite. It doesn't feel
It's super important. It's super important. And both characters are actively working to support the other one before they even see each other again. End of story.
Yep. Which is so nice. Yeah.
It's also a very mature way of... And see, here's the thing. Yeah. I actually don't associate that with being 30. I'm 32. I know other people who are my age. I don't associate that with being an age thing. I do associate it with being like a developmentally, emotionally mature thing.
Oh,
but they just do a good job in this book. Like, character-wise, they do a good job, and author-wise, she did a great job setting it up.
No, age isn't the only way to get there, especially in real life. But in books, you're much less likely to get it with a protagonist under 30. And there's more of a chance, depending on what author you're reading. The protagonist is older. But yeah. Ready for our final topic. All right, this is our third topic, which is compulsion. And just a heads up, one of the things that someone is compelled to do is non-permanently, because magic, kill themselves. So if you need to not have a discussion about that, please skip to the wrap up with our blessings. We'll catch you later. For those who are good for that to be part of this topic, Sarkis is magically compelled to defend his wielder from threats. And it's interesting to have a narrative about compulsion, magically induced compulsion, that doesn't involve compelled thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his will is his own. His thoughts are his own. His actions not so much.
Yeah. But he's able to, like, trick the spell a bit one time. The time when it really mattered to the narrative.
And And he didn't even really. He just delayed it just barely long enough.
Yeah.
Like, it,
permanently ruled
he didn't even temporarily. He was pushed toward this act, toward killing the aggressor the whole time, and he just managed to divert that attention to a different aggressor, just the slightest little bit for a moment, and that was it.
Yep. One of the reasons that we know, I mean, besides him saying it, his will is his own, is that he has in other times that we hear about done everything he possibly could to annoy the person who was wielding and thus compelling him.
Yeah.
Occasionally very, very much to his detriment in the moment. Yeah. But yeah, to me, that's the thing that stands out this most about Compulsion, how it's treated here, because most of the time in books that involve this, it's someone changing the person's thoughts, because, if you're going to do like the real world equivalent, you get someone to do something by changing how they think about it. But with magic, you don't have to go through what now I realize is an intermediary step when magic is involved.
Yeah.
You don't actually have to convince them that it's the right thing. But then, you do end up with people, or him specifically, trying to do everything he can to get around it.
Yeah, I love that also, like, he's fully embraced my actions, words, and thoughts my words and thoughts are my own, and I will make them your problem if I don't like you. Like, it's such a good, like, you take a character, you trap them in a sword, they're immortal, they can die, but they'll be back, it's fine. We'll get to that in a moment, because that's part of this. And like, but they're still allowed to, they still have free will, they just can't act on the free will, but they have the freedom to have their own will. And what are you going to do with that? Well, taunt your wielder, obviously. Like, what else are you going to do? Just make it their problem, that if they have to have you out for defense, you're going to talk the whole time.
Oh yeah. And there's a moment where, when they're in the temple trying to get help, and the people at the temple both want to confirm that Sarkis in the sword isn't kidnapping Hala.
Right.
And
good reaction.
That Hala, good thing to check, and that Hala isn't abusing, enslaving, or whatever. Sarkis.
A second good reaction.
Yeah. No, two very, very good things to
very
check.
Nice.
When two people walk in with, "Hello, I'm trapped in a sword." No, we don't need you to get me out of it.
Right. No, I'm good. Leave me here. It's fine.
Yeah. And I getting them, like, one of the things that in the narrative, like, it even takes Hala a really long time to understand, is that he can't just be like the tree who owns itself.
Right. Oh, it takes her till it takes her like most of the book to get like 80% of the way, and then she backslides to 40, screws up so hard, and then goes, "Uh-oh, I get it now." Like, yeah. No, like, to the point that, like, one of the first things he says to her is like, "I can't wield myself, lady." Yeah, and that still isn't enough.
Yeah, like, it's not like with like a gin in a bottle where,
right,
all right, don't make them do stuff for you, depending on the exact mythos. Like, it's not like that. If no one pulls the sword, he's just dreaming in
Asleep?
silver, vaguely
Yeah.
aware of time passing, mostly but not completely asleep, missing out on everything. And there isn't a way to wield him. There isn't a way to wield him without there being the potential for abuse and the existence in atmosphere, if not in actuality, of compulsion. Like, Hala isn't compelling him.
Right.
The magic is doing that for her. I know, I just realized it has, because I was thinking of Jin, it has similarities somewhat to, talked about Ptolemy's Gate by Jonathan Stroud. It has some similarities to Bartimaeus.
It does. That's very true.
Yeah, except that he is alone in the sword, and Bartimaeus is not alone in the other place.
Well, in the Jinn in the other place they're not asleep. They do have their own lives and existence without being called to Earth. Like that is the big major difference. Is for them, it's not a matter of like, well, I don't exist really in a functional way. You know, they do. It's just different.
Yeah, no,
that's a very good point. There's a huge parallel there.
Yeah, and the couple of very specific ways that it's different change what the solution is in relation to this one wielder who isn't going to abuse him.
Right, which is literally the same conversation. Yeah, no, that's good point.
Yeah, that's
really,
like, right.
Honestly, legitimately, if you thought the Bartimaeus series was a little bit too dark and grimdark and corpsey for you, this is a great alternative.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind it not being grimdark, this is also a great second book to read.
Yep. Yeah, it has.
I don't know the Bartimaeus is actually grimdark. There's just it's darker than I think it is, and I'm aware of that.
Yeah. No, I don't think it quite fits the trope of grimdark, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, here they don't currently have a way to get around the potential for compulsion.
Right.
And I don't know, like, it might even be to the extent, like, I don't know, but it could be possible that, like, he couldn't help her learn sword fighting because of the magic getting in the way. You know, I could easily picture some interesting chapters in a future thing, you know, dealing with that, where it's like, no, like, I promise magic, I'm not trying to actually hurt her. But if he, you know, swings with a practice sword, the magic doesn't care. Like, that's not in here, but that like potential kind of shape could be could very easily happen from what's shown here. And also part of what I really like with this is they're trying, like, she's working with him to try and get him out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's such a good book. It's such a good book that I like so much. It's like, I read this. Should I just reread all the other books too, since I've already reread this? But if I did, it'd be twice this year, and that's a bit much, even for me. On to the wrap-up and ratings for Swordheart by T. Kingfisher. Greetings, Grimoire. She just decided to say hello exactly as we start this section. All right. For the gratuity rating for our first topic of manipulation, backstory, off-screen, mild, moderate, or severe.
I think it's either mild or severe.
I think it's pretty severe.
You think it's pretty severe? Okay.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is threats.
Yeah,
was
but
mostly
that's
my
not
argument.
Nothing.
No, I agree, but
yeah. Then Betrayal It's backstory.
Yeah, absolutely. Just total backstory.
There's a lot of worrying about it.
And I think we're gonna
be like,
that's gonna be a gratuity, or that's gonna be a care rating.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't think it. Look, if Sarkis were here, he would probably argue that it was a betrayal again for him to not tell everyone immediately about the betrayal before.
Right,
no.
but he literally.
No, stop it. No,
I literally think that's not even a thing he's obligated to tell.
No. I just, for anyone for whom that would count, okay, maybe you think it's moderate. No, it's backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you think that counts.
No,
as
absolutely
current.
Not.
Right, which I don't.
Yeah.
But if you do, then for someone like that would be moderate. If not, it's backstory. All right, then compulsion.
I think this is severe.
Yeah.
I think this is more severe than the manipulation, frankly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But it's not at a point where we're supposed to agree that it's okay and fine and enjoy it.
No, it's not torture porn. It does have there is some of that telling a weird and shocking story to see the look on someone else's face. All of the stories related to things he's had to do with the compulsion, where it's like, he's standing here, he's fine. It obviously ended up all right.
Well,
but the details...
I don't know if you could say all right.
Everything grows back. Like,
sure. Physically, he heals.
Yeah. No,
but we're not talking about physical injury. We're talking about compulsion.
This is true.
Also, it just occurred to me, we kept saying we would talk about the physical injuries later, and then we just didn't.
Oh, no.
Well, okay. TLDR. Anytime he gets injured, the sword heals him later, but he still experiences it as an injury. There, we've talked about it. So that's the thing that we were getting to later the whole time.
Hey, it's later. Yeah. But yeah, I do think the
compulsion is happening
pretty
now.
Severe.
It's by the same token severe. That I would have made the argument that, and I did write down severe, but I would have made the manipulation argument as it being like threats and not carried out actions. The compulsion is acting on him specifically. So, and I would put the things the compulsion drives him to do to be on the same level as the manipulation. So, definitely severe.
Yep. Trauma, integral, interchangeable, or irrelevant. The manipulation. Would the plot still have happened without...
No. No, because she would have had no reason to leave. There would have been... No.
Yeah, the story looks very differently if this one person... Like, it takes a lot of people in the house all complicit and agreeing and or cowed to let the inciting incident happen. Right. Then the betrayal.
So I actually think this is irrelevant.
Yeah.
I think he could have been put in his situation in a myriad of ways and for reasons. He could have even been like the foot soldier ordered into the tent. Like,
oh, sure.
This is pretty irrelevant. The only thing it really affects is his perception of himself, but that is not the plot. Explicitly, he can't go anywhere by himself. It's not the plot.
Yes, for sure. The compulsion. I think
this I think it's maybe interchangeable.
Yeah, I was going to say
interchangeable. I think he could have his own motivations. I think, I think it's pretty interchangeable. I think without it, the plot would definitely change, but not in the ways it could be. You could be substituted for something else. Like, that would be fine. If it was just cut, that would be different. But I think it's interchangeable.
Yeah, I do think it's interchangeable. I think a bit at the end, the gesture he's able to do because the compulsion is involved I think one of the most dramatic things that could have fit
but
there.
But that's still not really plot.
Yeah, no.
Like, the sword could have just been closed and achieved the exact same result for him.
There could have been a second swordsman to fight, and he saves her.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of things that could have achieved a similar effect in the plot. I definitely think it's interchangeable. Then, was the trauma treated with care? The manipulation. I
would argue that having them not actually hurt her is a little bit of care. There's a lot of, comparatively, the manipulation is, a lot of threats of financial abuse, a lot of threats of physical harm, a lot of, manipulation can be physical or verbal.
Sure. There is a minor amount of actual physical harm.
But it's basically the one thing over and over, and it's literally just locking her in a room. That's basically it.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's we can make an argument for a lot of different levels. I don't think it's just a no. I think there's a level of care because it's words. And also she's not sitting here being affected and traumatized by the words. That's not a thing we watch her go through. It's an attempt at control, but it doesn't work. So I also think that's a little bit of care.
Yeah, I think probably enough.
Okay, I'm cool with that.
Then, for the betrayal, was this treated with care?
It's...
Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just yes, because we still don't really know, a lot of details. We know the bare minimum amount of details to just know that these things happened. Yeah. And that's, it.
Then the compulsion...
Maybe enough or not enough?
I was going to say
we see him struggle real hard.
Probably enough.
Okay, but he also does do the thing that you were talking about.
That's true. He does do the thing.
Pretty graphically.
Yeah.
I guess enough then.
Yeah, I'd say enough. Partly because when he does the thing, we know that at least in a physical sense, he will be okay based on all available evidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like this was the first time that basically this had happened.
Right.
In terms of what ends up happening with him. So, yeah, we're not in, year 2 of him being in the sword. That would be a very different book.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of things he's able to confidently do and threats he's able to confidently rebut or withstand because he has more experience with his whole situation than any of his wielders do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then how clear is the moral directionality?
I am going to make a weird argument for you. I have a question.
Okay.
So the question is, contextually, the pursuit of our main characters is set up to be pretty clear. The context in which they are operating in, the world and their society, are explicitly on text tangled.
Yeah, as soon as you said you had a theory, I was like, God dang it, they're going to argue for Tangled on the basis
Well, here's the thing. I'm not arguing for
differences.
Tangled. I'm asking if this is an argument for Tangled. I don't know that it is.
That I instantly knew what your argument for Tangled
makes
would
it
be.
Probably, yeah, okay.
I think is a pretty good hint that, it's Tangled.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of our main character going, oh, this thing is awful, and oh man, this thing is the best, and of course it's like this is the best way to be, and another character saying, wait, hold on. But what if in my society it was totally the opposite, and it worked just as well, or better, because I was there and I liked it better. And they're and then they it's not like a long conversation, but they have, I think, 2 distinct conversations about this. 3?
Yeah.
If you include weddings at the end and stuff.
No, there's several very specific conversations about the way things are approached differently in the Weeping Lands where Sarkis is from versus the present.
And I think it's even specifically, it's almost taking our main character on a journey, or one of our main characters on a journey from my moral directionality in my life is clear into what if it's not?
Yep. And, like, part of that is, you know, maybe I shouldn't have to just accept
my lot in life and how people treat me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's even a comparison made between, like, forced marriages and slavery. Like, in a very, like, not chattel slavery, but slavery structurally, systemically. There's like I think it's like a 2-line middle of this conversation where she's like, oh, this thing is, you know, and he's like, this sounds like this other thing that happened in my culture that really wasn't okay, but I didn't have a way of changing it. Like, that's it. But, you know, but there's some very, like, distinct parallels down. But I do think if you're making the argument, now, this is not how we've categorized other books, to be fair. I do think if you say plot line wise, I think we have main character actions is pretty clear. It's just the context in them is not. But part of that is, like, them navigating that context.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And even then, I think they're mostly doing a cultural exchange with regards to, like, the path. But not the goal. I think I've talked myself back around to clear.
Right.
Because they're discussing how culturally they have very different tactics.
Right. And they're not passing judgment on each other's cultures is important.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say generally, I do think the moral directionality is pretty clear.
Okay. Clear it is.
Point of view for the trauma and aftermath. It alternates between the two of them.
Yeah,
for the whole book.
Well, we get the point of view of. Okay, the point of view of manipulation, I think, is just Hala, past and present.
Yeah.
Point of view of the betrayal, I think, is just Sarkis, past and present. Point of view of the compulsion, I think, is just split.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's Sarkis in the past and both of them in the present.
I mean, yeah, it can't be Hala in the past.
Right. Because they both have their own histories, and they don't really talk about them in a way you would need to have a perspective. And they are both viewing...
I actually now don't remember if there's any of the sections where Sarkis is the main character and explicitly the manipulation is happening. I do agree
think
that the bulk
she pulls him out, and so it doesn't happen. Like, it explicitly happens when he's not out of the sheath. He does not view it, because when he's out, it doesn't happen. He prevents it.
Yeah.
Which is not her saying, hey, rescue me. It's her saying, here's my goal. And he says, all right, got it. Magic sword incoming to slice the door open. Done. Like, this is not a whole, you know, they're not exchanging information. She's telling him what she needs in the moment. Yep.
All right. Then for the trope spotter, we have obfuscating stupidity due to Hala's personality and life circumstances. She's naturally inclined to talk a lot, and when she is in danger from authority figures, she talks until they're not even sure what we're talking about.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's intentional on her part, which is pretty great.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's definitely, like, redirecting her own personal tendencies into a self-defense mechanism.
Or at least her own personal mannerisms.
Yes. And she specifically discusses, like, at one point there's even the line of, like, you know, people don't kill stupid women, they just kick us out of the way. Because if she's just, like, if she is threatened by someone who could do her physical harm, if she talks until they just want her to shut up and exit, she's more likely to make it out relatively unscathed. And, you know, sometimes she uses it to get great deals in stores, and sometimes she uses it to talk down angry sword-wielding people on the road. So that's the trope, obfuscating stupidity.
And also you note she doesn't do this thing when she knows it won't work. She doesn't do it with her mother-in-law. She does it only when he's alone with her brother-in-law. Like,
yeah.
She's picking her battles, and this is a weapon.
Yep. Yeah. And the book makes sure, like, the author made sure that we knew this is a specific
we are
thing she's
explicitly
doing
aware.
On purpose.
It's very good.
All right. What was your favorite non-traumatic thing about the book?
Okay. So I have a lot of traumatic things that are my very, very good favorite, but I did pick one that's not.
Excellent.
For once. I do want to just quickly note, I love the depiction of his scars. They're magical bindings and they're magical healing, so they don't go back to flesh. That's very good. That is a good visual for what's happening. Okay, anyways, non-traumatic though. Also, I think binding to the sword is very fun. I just like people bound to weapons. There's an anime that I've been trying to carve out time to watch that is a similar premise, except those swords are after death and not life like Sarkis is. Anyways, non-traumatic. I really love the opposition of a character who is very clear-cut, very like goal-oriented, very military tactics. He's a trained fighter. He's a trained tactician. He's a commander. You know, this was what he does or what he did, and he always sees like the clear line, A to B. This is our goal. Here's how we're going to accomplish it. And that's just true of how he like deals with things. And when he can't clear cut line, that's when he stops working. He short circuits mentally. Opposed with a character who is not stupid. She's very smart, actually. She's not foolish. She's very smart in both senses of that term. She has the understanding of her situation, and she also has the wisdom to deal with it. But she just doesn't tell people. And she doesn't really take a clear line anywhere. She kind of takes the situation as it is and says, okay, right now, what step will I take that puts me closer to my goal? And she does just one step at a time. She kind of just deals with everything as though they're all like one step, one solution problems. And then there's a goal over there somewhere and she'll get there on her own eventually. And I love the dynamic of a character that feels very familiar to me, because it's very how I treat problems, and a character that would infuriate me working with them in real life. But because as a book, we know what is going on in her head, it's actually just very funny. And I love the interplay of them like eventually like figuring out, okay, well now is the time for your method, and now is the time for my method, and like figuring out how to tell whose way of working is better in certain situations. That's just very funny.
And also contextually understanding that either way of doing things has benefits.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's nice.
Yeah, and they're contextually appropriate. And, you know, things that Sarkis struggles with when he's faced with them, Hala is like, all right, my turn. And then things where she's like, oh no, I can't just, and he's like, all right, I got it. We're going to go here, 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 done. And it's just very nice. What about yours?
Thinking I love so much about this book, and this world. This is situated in between even more books, in what is loosely called the world of the White Rat. And I love this. This is our introduction to Zale as a lawyer priest of the White Rat. And I really like this introduction to them. Them in this case, both referring to Zale and to the White Rat as an organization. It's very cool, and I just Zale's response when asked if he can keep something private, where it's, you know, I am both a lawyer and a priest. While there may be someone more bound to secrecy, I have yet to meet them. Very nearly those lines. Zale's pretty cool. And if you like Zale, read the Stain of Steel books, because they appear again, and it's very cool. Very exciting. I love Zale. Yeah.
Oh, just a little like bonus thing, because I know this matters to people. Zale is a question mark non-binary character. They're a like non-gender specified character.
Yeah, Zale is a person who uses they them pronouns,
and that's
as
all we know.
indicated by
We
the silver
literally don't
stripe
even
on their
know.
habit.
Yeah, we literally don't even know anything else. Like, we don't even know if they're non-binary or if they just don't use, like, we have no clue.
Yeah.
But something, so this, as speaking of, since I don't know, because they don't tell us, at least in this book, unless Robin finds out later in a different book.
No, there's nothing to reveal. They are a person who uses they, them pronouns. So if there is a term for that, it has not appeared yet in the books.
Yeah, we just don't have it. So this is a character who exists from the very beginning. This character never tells anyone in pronouns. That discussion never occurs.
No.
And everyone...
That's because their clothing tells people.
But they aren't explaining the concept to people.
Yes, that's true. It's not quite... Yes,
they're not educating people on their lives.
Good. Okay.
And allies and enemies alike, correct pronouns, no problems, no mistakes, no issues. So if you're looking for a non-binary character who doesn't have to explain what that is, or if you're looking for, at the very least, non-binary representation that doesn't have to like walk you through their life every 10 pages, this is a book for you.
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's really cool stuff going on with gender in this series. Like, even the priests of the Hanged Mother, who are really, really terrible, not fun people, they're not misgendering.
Yeah.
Like,
they're the people that drag widows and small children out of their homes to beat them in the street, and they respect Sale's pronouns.
Yep.
With no grumbling.
Yep.
This author does a very good job of like, this is the trauma I'm going to portray and nothing else occurs. Which is very it's a very specific way of handling like their plots and their world.
Yeah. I also love a great many things, just like incidental stuff. A part of why I love them is because they're explained more and elsewhere in other books, like The Paladins of the Dreaming God. Those are so fun. After we record, I will tell Nicole fun things about the Paladins of the Dreaming God.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's it. And if you want to know cool things about the Paladins of the Dreaming God, you should read other books by T. Kingfisher in this world, or message me and I will tell you cool stuff that I know from reading those books, if you're so inclined. Yeah, and I think that's going to do it for our discussion of Swordheart. This is great. I love this book. I love this series.
Real quick.
Makes me so happy. Yeah.
I have a headcanon that he is the sword and she is the heart. I don't know if that's the thing, because it could also just be like him getting stabbed through the heart.
God. You know, given what the titles are
for other books,
the Saint of Steel books, you're probably right, because like, oh my God, because this is followed up.
I did
by
think that would be like a revelation.
No, this is followed up by Paladin's Grace, where there's a paladin and a woman named Grace.
Okay.
And yeah, and Paladin's Strength and Paladin's Hope, those are a little bit more sideways, but still, no, you're absolutely right. Swordheart, you're right.
That's her defining characteristic, is her compassion.
No, absolutely. And I had not thought
explicitly.
Of it. Oh, I'm sure you're right.
Okay, anyways, we'll see y'all later.
All right, bye. All music used in this podcast was created by Nicole as Heartbeat Art Co. and is used with permission. Our transcriptionist is Heather. You can find her on Twitter at MamaDragon20 or on TikTok at MamaDragons_den. We're proud members of the Certain Point of View network of podcasts. Check out all the Certain POV shows at www.certainpov.com. Please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/booksthatburn. If you can't wait for the next episode and need even more book-related content in your life, check out our book review blog, Reviews That Burn, subscribe to the fortnightly newsletter, or follow us on the Story Graph. You can contact us by email at booksthatburn@yahoo.com and find all our links, contact info, and social media on our card, booksthatburn.carrd.co. Don't forget to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and remember, some books burn you.